Darvin Ham is fed up.
With what?
Apparently the media.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
The media?
So he did. Yeah, he did. He is. All right. I mean, apparently. So remember, I told you Shams, Jovan, and Sam Amick, they dropped the piece as soon as the game was over. And there was a lot of criticism of Darvin in that story.
Okay.
Okay.
It comes with the territory.
So apparently McMenamin did a great job reporting and told Darvin, hey, there's this story. This is what they're saying, yada, 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 all this stuff we talked about, the Clippers game, this, that, and the other, all the stuff that was in there.
So Darvin didn't read it. He got McMenamin to tell him what it was about.
Right.
Okay.
And Ham said this about the season, been extremely challenging. Everyone that's been in and out of the lineup being criticized for not having a consistent rotation. He's talking about himself. When I don't have consistent, healthy bodies. The thing that frustrates me, and I love this job, I love the pressure that comes with it, but I've always been calm in the midst of chaos. But common sense tends to go out the window when you talk about my job in particular, okay? He adds, it's amazing how people just skip that the core part of having a consistency with your lineup is all predicated on health and performance. If you're coaching a team and one of your starters is like 10 games in a row just bleeping the bed, what are you going to do?
Okay. I talked about that quote yesterday about the bleeping the bed. And I asked you yesterday, who's he talking about?
I have an educated guess.
Okay. Who do you think it is?
I believe he's talking about Rui.
Oh, interesting. Because
now he could also be talking about D'Angelo, who was benched. And Austin was also benched. But if I were ranking them, I would say Rui is the target. And I think by a wide margin, I think it's Rui who he's talking about. And then I would say maybe D'Lo, and then Austin way, way down.
Because when I saw the quote yesterday on Twitter.
And here's why I have Austin way, way down. And I would literally make him 1% or less.
Yeah, why?
Because Darvin has told me plenty of times that Austin was tired early in the year because of the crazy summer he had playing for Team USA.
Yep.
And he hadn't played that think about it. He's a young guy. He never played that many games for that long a stretch of time ever in his career.
Yeah. When I saw the quote yesterday, though, on Twitter, whoever posted the quote that I saw.
It was, I think, Bleacher Report posted it probably.
But they had a picture.
They love those headlines.
They had a picture of Darvin and D'Angelo. So it made you think
that it was D'Angelo.
That he was talking about D'Angelo.
I think it's Rui.
But I'll just tell you right now, if you go back to the beginning of that quote, go back to what Darvin said. I want to analyze it here for a quick second. Go back to it for a second. Because
which part is it long?
The very beginning.
Yeah.
About him not having healthy bodies.
Yeah.
Because to me that's nonsense. Coaches always like to say next man up. We can't use injuries as an excuse. Next man up. These are all professional basketball players. We didn't know that Gabe Vincent was going to get hurt. We know Jared Vanderbilt was going to get hurt. We know Rui, who had injuries in the early part of the season, was going to get hurt. That's part of the game. It's an unfortunate part of the game, but it is part of the game. Here's the truth of the matter, though, Coach. The two guys that couldn't get hurt didn't get hurt. You feel me?
Right.
So, look, you can blame the media. You can talk about loving the pressure of the job, being able to handle the chaos of the job. Look, this is the Lakers, okay? This isn't the Orlando Magic. This isn't the Portland Trailblazers. This isn't Oklahoma City, Jack. This is the Los Angeles. This isn't the Clippers. You feel me? This is the Lakers, dude. This is the Yankees. This is the Cowboys. This is Notre Dame football. You're under the spotlight every day. Now you're going to start complaining about injuries and the media? Come on, Coach, really? How about, how many people who really, really, really know the game, who talked all season about rotations, lack of timeouts being called, poor combinations on the floor, etc., real tactical, criticisms.
Right.
Now it's the injuries. I didn't have my best guys. It's the injuries. Guys are crapping the bed. Nice.
I actually think this was actually a crux as to why they chose the path they chose with those rotations and floor combinations. I'll explain that more after Radio Tinder. So Darvin Ham took exception to all the stuff that was written about him right after the game, and they lost the game by The Athletic, and vented to our friend Dave McMenamin about,
Oh, excuse me. Let me get this straight. He's upset at the media, so he's venting to the media?
Yes.
Well, that just doesn't... That doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
He says, everyone that's been in and out of lineup being criticized for not having a consistent rotation when I don't have a consistent, healthy bodies. That is the thing that frustrates me. I love this job. I love the pressure that comes with it. I've always been calm in the midst of chaos, but common sense tends to go out the window when you talk about my job in particular. It's amazing to me how people just skip the core part of having consistency with your lineup, and it's all predicated on health and performance. If you're coaching a team and one of your starters is like 10 games in a row, just bleeping the bed, what are you going to do? So I believe he's talking about Rui, who had a terrible start to the season. D'Lo probably could be in that conversation too. I don't believe it's Austin Reeves at all. But let's just, for argument's sake, let's use Rui, because that's who I believe it is.
But Rui, just to be clear, at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of excitement for him based on what he had done last year in the playoffs and a couple of offensive performances.
Yeah.
And then they signed him when most of us were clamoring for them to do so.
They signed him to a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and then the beginning of the year comes, and I would have to go back and look, but I would say in the first 20 games of the season, he seemed to be hurt for a good portion of that, don't you think?
He had some injuries. He also had, much like Austin, and D'Angelo for that matter, had a tough start to the season. But I think with Hachimura, personally, I believe his inconsistency... he's been inconsistent throughout his career, but I also believe that he just didn't get the right amount of minutes, which is something I eventually came across, as we discussed, right? Like 40-something games into the season. But when I went back and looked at his numbers, there's some bad nights in there, and he did miss, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games he missed due to injury in 2 different stretches of 4 and 4, okay?
So he missed 8 games total for the season?
I'm talking about early stretch of the season.
Okay.
This is when I'm in the first month or so of the season. Okay. Then he missed another stretch of 5 games, which was also in January.
Okay, so he's already up to 13 games missed due to injury.
Correct.
Based on your math.
That's what he has. 13 games due to injury. There was a 2 DMPs in there. Okay. Actually, it's 12 games missed, 2 DMPs. Okay. But if you look at his numbers, first night, rough night, opening night, 3 of 10. But he only played 14 minutes. Like, that was kind of stunning, remember? Like, we were like, hey, okay, only 14 minutes. Oh, whatever, maybe just circumstances. It is what it is. But surprising that the guy who played well against Denver was only playing 14 minutes.
And a guy who they had gone out and signed. And
correct.
First of all, they traded for him last year. And then they gave him, I don't remember exactly what the numbers were. Like
it was 15 a year.
Okay, 15. I mean, listen, they gave him significant money.
Yeah. Then game 2, he got 12 minutes.
Jeez.
Game 3, 17 minutes. Finally, after he comes back from injury, missing 4 games, 25 minutes, then back to 20, up to 32, back down to 23, back down to 17, up to 27, up to 32, up to 28, up to 25, right? But here's the common thread. In the games he played over 20 minutes, they won a bunch of them.
How many?
I will tell you right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 and 2 in the beginning of the season. In the first month of the season, when they played him more than 20 minutes, they were 6 and 2.
Yeah, so let's just go back to the Darvin quote.
By the way, in the games they played him less than 20 minutes, okay, they were 1 and 2, 1 and 3. Yeah, 1 and 3.
Okay. Look, I think, Darvin says in this quote.
And that's just the first month.
Yeah, but he says one of your starters, so he's giving you one of 5 guys to choose from.
Right.
It's not LeBron. It's not AD. There's 3 guys we can look at. You're pointing out Rui.
Right.
You ask yourself this, Coach. You had a guy that played really well last year, had some big performances in the postseason. The organization signed him to a sizable financial contract, and in the first month, you're screwing with him 12 minutes, 17 minutes, 28 minutes, 32 minutes, 15 minutes, 14 minutes, 28 minutes.
Correct.
What's that all about? Because ultimately, the reason we know that he should have played more is because what happens in the second half of the season when the Lakers finally get into a rotation of the same starting 5, of which Rui is a part of.
Mm-hmm. Rui had a tough start to the season, but he actually did not play that poorly the rest of the way. And again, as you mentioned, in February when they actually started him, they had a really good record. It was like 19-6 or 20-6 or something like that.
Yeah.
When they finally went back to starting him and giving him real minutes. So this notion that he's standing by, he bleeped the bed for 10 games. He didn't even do that. Like, he wasn't available for 8 of those 8 games. Mm-hmm. And he had a few stinkers in there. But he also, in those stinkers, he's playing 17 minutes or 14 minutes or whatever. You know what I mean? So, like, of course he's not going to play well. You can't even get into a rhythm.
It sounds like a coach who, when you start saying things like this, you know what that sounds
like?
He
understands he's under real scrutiny and that his job could be on the line.
I would say he knows he's getting fired.
Right, perhaps.
Okay? I mean, I think you've put some nice language there, okay? But he knows he's getting fired. And when you know you're getting fired, rather than sit there and go, hey, look, you know, it just was kind of a tough year. You know, Gabe Vincent didn't play because of injuries. Jared Vanderbilt didn't play because of injuries. We really didn't get much contribution out of Cam Reddish this year, unfortunately. Taurean Prince, as far as shooting, he can't shoot and hit anything. Look, instead of him like just kind of softening the blow to the realities of the situation, to go out and say that one of your starters blanked the bed, that's a guy who's getting fired. Or at least that's what it sounds like to me.